I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the hardest videos for me to make. It's very personal, and at the same time, I believe that often it's those videos that are really hard to make that are the most meaningful ones that we can make. Today, I want to share with you my journey from 0 to multiple 7 figures through the lens of how I felt supported or unsupported by my significant other, and ultimately what I did to receive the kind of support I needed to reach my goals. We started out as lovers. We very quickly started a business together, bumped our heads like crazy, separated for a while. In that time, we were just co-parents because that also happened relatively quickly. And ultimately, we found our way back together, and we're now married and happy, and I feel more supported than ever. And in this video, I want to condense the journey and all the learnings that I had throughout those 4 years to hopefully save you a lot of headache and heartache. I want to emphasize that I am absolutely not an expert. I'm not a relationship coach. I just want to talk from one entrepreneur to another, and I want to give you the things that I wish somebody would have told me. The first and most important piece is probably to get really clear first for yourself in the kind of support that you need from your partner. Are you looking for emotional support? Are you looking for logistical support? Are you looking for financial support? It is really key that you understand what kind of support you're looking for when you feel like you need it. It's something that I did wrong in the beginning. I just felt unsupported, but I didn't take the time to really think about why and what is the underlying need. While I can speak relatively little to wanting financial support, I can speak more to wanting emotional and a little bit logistical support. I want to give you a few very specific examples of the thing that I meant when I told myself he's not supporting me, the underlying need, and how I eventually solved it. One of the things that I meant when I said he's not supporting me was that he criticized my business decisions frequently. So when we started out together, what he wanted to build was an agency. What I wanted to build was a personal brand. We both didn't know that this is what we want, and we were so ineffective in our communication that both of us couldn't clearly articulate their vision towards each other. And so what he saw me doing made no sense for him because it didn't fit into his vision, and what I saw him doing made no sense for me because it didn't fit into my vision. And so what happened there at the very first stage of our relationship was that he criticized my decisions, and that made me feel undermined. I felt the need for affirmation and for respect of my judgment. When he was criticizing me and giving me feedback, it was because we were running on two completely different assumptions. I would want to challenge you if you haven't done that yet. The first thing to probably consider is, have I explained my full vision to them? Am I even clear enough in my own vision that I can articulate it well so that they are not basing their criticism on assumptions, which is when it will feel unfair. I also learned that there's always the fixing it with the partner, and there's always the taking charge of things and stepping into responsibility and my strength independently from my partner. Over the years, I've developed confidence in my own decision making, and I less and less needed the feedback and the validation from him, from mentors, from peers. So the clearer I got in my own vision, the more I worked on trusting myself, the more I worked on making decisions based on frameworks, the less I had the need to have that external validation, the less I was seeking it, the less I was opening myself up for this unwanted criticism. This led to the other scenario that we had often, which was that he didn't show interest in my business. So what happened after we bumped heads and I got defensive because I felt criticized was that he withdrew and basically was like, okay, do your thing, lady. And so I did my thing. And then I felt really lonely doing my thing. The need that came up then for me was the need for emotional support and for not feeling isolated. What I could have done with him would be to just, instead of constantly just throwing everything that happens in the business at him because I want to talk about business and I want to share, schedule appointments and talking about the business then, right? So being clear and respectful and saying, it is really important for me to give you an update on what's going on. I would love for you to show some interest. When is a good time for you? Because, when is not a good time, just always and without any breaks. And so I didn't understand that the more I'm pushing this on him, the more he will withdraw. And that a first step would be to clearly communicate the expectation of, I would like you to show some interest in this. I would like you to know about this because it means a lot to me, and here's why. When is a good time when I can bring this to you? And then respecting his boundaries around that as well. What I could have done without him and what I did without him, which is where I outbalanced a lot of things, was to seek business mentors and peer groups and talk with buddies about it. So my online business is paid communities, right? So it makes sense that I had a lot of peers and a lot of support and a lot of opportunities for exchange around business in that regard. I also have a beautiful business partner, Jessa Bellman, that I could, talk for hours with about business and about dreams and about visions. And so a lot of my need got satisfied there. At the same time, it never completely went away, the desire to be able to share this with my partner. But I now have a better understanding for this is my passion. I have built a lot of this. It feels like my baby, and it is okay that I am more passionate and I'm burning more about it. At the same time, I do expect a certain level of interest, but I'm also knowing that I respect that he's not always open to talk about this. And so this is kind of got solved from that perspective for me. Another thing that happened is that my partner was complaining a lot about the time that I spent in the business. And so what happened for me is, especially as a mother, and because of the business we have to spend months apart at a time, I felt really guilty and I felt really overwhelmed because on one hand I had the massively growing business that was growing fast with a lot of customers and a lot of demand, and on the other hand I had my young boy and my partner, soon to be husband, and I felt like pulled in all direction, and I wanted to make it 100% right by everyone, and I wanted to be the perfect mentor and provider for my clients, and I wanted to be the perfect mother for my son, and I wanted to be the perfect wife and homemaker for my future husband. And so my underlying need there was that he develops an understanding for shared responsibilities. And because I was contributing so much to our lifestyle through the work I provided, it felt unfair for me that he kept asking for more time, because I also felt like, hey, you're directly benefiting from that. What I didn't get right at that time was that, again, there was a lack of setting clear expectations and setting clear boundaries. My lack of planning and my desire to sometimes act out on what currently inspires me, or to, troubleshoot, would just really affect our schedule. And we have a little child, and there is a desire to lead a somewhat normal life, and me just going and disrupting, almost every single day because I have poor time management is, on the other hand, as well unfair to him, right? So how I solved it basically with him is to establish a clear schedule with the expectation that sometimes things can happen and I need time outside of what we have agreed. At the same time, we also have an understanding that if every week, 3 days, there's an emergency where I need more time, there's something wrong with priorities, and some adjustments need to be made to how I'm managing the time. That kind of unwrapped that situation for us, and I got a lot better at delegating tasks. And I also, now for the first time, it's something that I took home from the school games where we were invited to Las Vegas, and then we had a workshop there. One thing that I took home was you cannot wear all the hats, and now I have somebody helping me at home with the chores, with groceries, with cleaning, etc. So that this is delegated, and ultimately there is more time for the family left. Another one was being indifferent towards success or failure. So when something positive happened in the business, or when a failure happened in the business, my partner would react like relatively uninvolved emotionally, and that made me feel like he has no empathy towards me. And this is probably when I feel most unsupported. What I tried to do was to express my need for emotional support and, at the same time, also by myself learn to process and react to business outcomes more independently. So, not needing my partner for emotional regulation. Here's probably where the biggest shift happened for us, because my partner didn't know what I need when I needed empathy. So I thought that it's the most self explanatory thing in the world that you have to be there for me right now. And I never told him what that needs to look like. So he thought that when something happens and I get emotional, he is there for me by talking me logically through the problem, right? Which for me felt like there's another person question me, that I have to justify what's going on, and that I have to troubleshoot in that moment. And it took me a really long time to understand that everybody expresses empathy and care in a different way. And what I would have needed in that situation was to get a hug, so somebody can hold me and co-regulate my nervous system with me. And then probably after I calm down a little bit, ask me, what do you need right now? How can I help? And very often for me, that lack of empathy was basically a lack of somebody helping me to regulate my nervous system. And so over the years, I realized that I thought that there was a lack of empathy, but there was just a difference in how he expresses it and how I would like to receive it. And that's probably my biggest takeaway for you for this video, is getting really, really clear first in what are the things that make me feel unsupported. What is the underlying need? How can I solve this with my partner? And then how can I get abundantly clear as in what I am looking for right now? Let me give you another example. A lot of times I felt unsupported in business, but what I actually felt was I felt underloved. Because what I also discovered over the years is that my partner and I have two different love languages. My love languages are words of affirmations and acts of services. So when I am working really hard in the business so I can provide for my family, I am loving on them. As weird as it sounds, this is how I am giving. I'm giving my love by providing, right? And I'm giving my love by using words of affirmation, right? Saying, I love you, I appreciate you, etc. And often how we speak love is also how we receive love. Now, my partner speaks love, or my partner's love language is quality time. And now I can maybe you can already see where the problem comes in, because I am busy loving on him by working harder so I can provide. And he wants to love on me, spending time with me, but I'm not making myself available. So the message he gets from me is, I don't love you because I don't want to spend time with you. And he cannot understand why I'm not feeling loved by him when all he wants to do is spend time with me. And so a lot of the lack of support that I felt was actually a lack of love that I felt. And the underlying problem was that I'm speaking love differently than he does, and he speaks it differently than I do. And so he needs to receive something else, and I need to receive something else. And so now that we are more aware around this, we can actually work around it. And this ties back to the point I tried to make before, I am communicating extremely specific how I want to be loved on. So for example, my love language is acts of services. I feel extremely loved when I am working and he makes me a coffee with the creamy milk on top, and he brings that coffee for me. I feel so loved. It's ridiculous. Or when, I'm having a hard day in the business or something goes wrong, and he says, you're doing so well. I'm so proud of you. Oh, I could melt, I could cry right now because I feel so loved when that happens. And my job is to see that and recognize that, and then letting him know. And then also letting him know when I'm feeling unsupported, when I'm feeling underloved, and saying, you know what I would need right now? Can you tell me I'm doing a good job? Could you, say that? And we even have now, and this is kind of a more frequent check-in that needs to happen. Very frequently, I let him know, I'm feeling a little bit underloved right now. Could you tell me a few more times today, like, that I'm doing well? Or could you, go down with the dog for me? Or could you do some groceries? Because that would make me feel really supported right now, and I'm having a hard time. And then on the flip side of that, right, you also need to reciprocate that too. A mistake that I made was, I thought because I'm now growing this business and I solved our financial troubles, and now because I'm making so much money we can finally be together, I thought like business first, right? So I'm doing the really hard work and I'm doing the really important things. So, I've already done my part because I'm providing for us and I'm doing all of those challenging things and I'm working all day, every day. So when I'm done with that, I just want to basically fall into bed and everybody needs to know that they're loved and taken care of. So this is unfortunately not how it works, especially in business, because we can take it so seriously. It means so much to us and we exhaust ourselves so much. We can feel like we have already appropriately reciprocated. Now, I always remind myself that just how I am not feeling loved when my partner wants to give me quality time, and it feels just like oh my goodness, I already have so much on my plate and now we should hang out and watch TV, and I don't want to think about TV, I actually just want to get things done. Just like I don't feel loved then, he doesn't feel loved because I busted my butt all day working in the business, right? I need to reciprocate love and support in a way that he can receive it and feel loved and feel supported. This is something that I'm also making a priority right now. Right now, you could say, well, that all sounds like you guys are just not compatible. And maybe you should find somebody who speaks the same love language as you, or somebody where you don't have to communicate like all the time, etc. I believe that it's not so often in life that you find someone that you truly care about, and it's always worth working on your communication and on understanding. I noticed when our relationship broke down that I have been showing up so much more diligently and sophisticated and deliberate in my business than I have in our relationship. And so, of course, the business grows. And of course, what happens to the relationship? If you don't water a garden, then you cannot be disappointed that nothing grows in there. And so it's with my relationship as well. I want to put that work in, and I want to care, and I want to learn how to be together in a functional, beautiful way so we can grow together and we can build something outstanding. Just like I want to build an outstanding business, I want to build an outstanding relationship. I wanted to give you a few tips for having those conversations as well, because we did have to have those conversations. And I think one of the biggest issues was that I would just complain between two coaching calls to him and then be snarky and walk off. And obviously that's not productive. So over the years, I also learned to manage my emotions and structure my thoughts and prepare for a conversation like I would prepare for a meeting. And so when something was not to be solved with the everyday communication of, this is how I feel, here's what I need, and it was just lingering conflict that needed to be addressed, I would properly prepare for that conversation. And often I would use ChatGPT. I would use the wheel of emotion and I would be like, okay, where am I? What is it? What is the emotion? Okay, what am I feeling? Okay, where's this coming from? And then I would literally use ChatGPT to say, here's what's happening in my relationship right now. Here's how I feel. What do I need to do? Like, what do I need to say? How can I go from here? And I was really prepared to a T for the conversation so that I am able to communicate my situation, expectations, boundaries clearly to my partner without any emotions, snarkiness, just in a very clear and constructive way. And this made all the difference. The same, I reminded myself before I went into a conversation, how do I want to show up in that conversation? What is the intention? How can I start from a place of appreciation? How can I keep actively listening to my partner, which is hard and you need to practice it. And sometimes we can do those things in business because it feels like a different context. But these are best practices for a reason. It takes that discipline to prepare yourself for that conversation and to hold yourself accountable to showing up in a different way. The same goes for not interrupting, but actually taking notes. And when things get heated, maybe taking a break. And maybe saying, let's hold off for that for now and let's revisit it another day. And going and processing your thoughts and feelings and then coming back well prepared and structured with a clear message. I'm not saying take all the blame. I have a lot of empathy for this, right? I've been through the situation where I didn't feel supported. I'm not saying, oh, it's all your fault. You're emotionally reactive. You need to support your partner more. No, it's a give and take. But what is in your hand is how you show up and how much responsibility you take. And then what your partner does with it is in their hands. And then if you ultimately want to tolerate that, if that meets your standard, and if that is how you want to live life, that's your call then. Sometimes us stepping up our games and being more collaborative and those more mature efforts, sometimes that doesn't equate to a change in our partner. But then at least we have given it our fair try, and we made sure that we are at least coming from the right place, and that we are prepared, and that we are clear, and that we know what we're asking for. Because otherwise, those things just spiral and they just keep coming back. And the same goes when the conversation is finished and you guys conclude on something. Are you writing it down? Are you looking at your notes at any point in time? Are you following up with your partner in a structured way where you say, hey, remember, these are the notes we have taken. This is the agreement we came to. I just would like to remind you of that. We agreed on this. So where's that accountability? I personally didn't have that for a very long time. And now looking back, I'm surprised that I was surprised about things not working out. I was surprised that the same cycles would keep repeating, although I would change nothing. It's a little bit crazy to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. I would try to find the right counselor when you have recurring conflicts, when you have communication breakdowns, when there is high stress or transition periods, and when that feeling of being unsupported persists despite you having a consistent, deliberate effort. So if you have not been showing up in a mature way during discussions or everyday life, it might take a few weeks for your partner to get used to the new you, so that they also see, okay, something really changed and there's some serious evolution going on. But if it persists despite a sophisticated effort beyond that time, it might be really worth to talk to a professional. I think that also humbled me in a way that it is really an ongoing effort, just like it's an ongoing effort to build a business if you want to build something beautiful that lasts for a long time. So these are my thoughts around times when you feel unsupported. I hope that this was helpful. I do very much love and appreciate my husband. I do very much see, the growth potential I had throughout the years, and I'm really grateful that we stuck it out, and I'm kind of confident and hopeful that we keep working together to make things work. Thank you, and bye for now.